This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast.
Streaming only on Peacock.
Being with Finch felt like I was in some fairy tale.
She's like, I write for Grey's Anatomy. I was like, what?
Her writing was so highly regarded because Finch had been through so much.
A Hollywood writer's life.
When you love somebody, you'll ignore red flags so they're hitting you in the head.
Filled with fiction.
She would do whatever it takes to get ahead.
She's sort of like a TV series.
I don't know who my wife is.
Anatomy of Lies. Streaming October 15th. Only on Peacock.
It was all a lie.
Warning, this documentary contains disturbing content. Listener discretion is advised. On Saturday, November 12th, 2022, Kaylee, one of the girls living in the house on King Road, posts a picture on Instagram. 6 people are smiling broadly, looking at the camera. Maddie is sitting on Kaylee's shoulders. Both have blonde hair, parted in the middle, thick eyelashes, and bright white teeth. Ethan's brown hair is tousled, and he stands almost 2 heads taller than his girlfriend, Zaina, who's standing close behind him. His hand rests on her shoulder. Zaina has braided her brown hair into 2 plaits. Like most of the people in the picture, she's wearing an oversized University of Idaho sweatshirt. The other 2 roommates are also in the picture.
All 6 who were in the house that night stand together.
This is J. Reuben Appelman, or Jay. He has written a book about the case.
The 4 in the center are the 4 who, within a day, will have been found dead in the house.
Now they look forward to a weekend with friends, parties, and late-night snacks. Of course, none of them know what's about to happen.
But right now, Kaylee reflects on how much these people mean to her, and she posts their photo on Instagram.
One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day, it reads. It will be the last picture she ever posts. You're listening to the Idaho Student Murders, a 4-part documentary about the brutal murders of Maddie, Kaylee, Zaina, and Ethan. This documentary is produced by Gabriella Lahti. My name is Jonathan Rollins. If you like this series, don't forget to follow Crime by PodLit so you can find our other podcasts and be notified when a new episode of this series is released. This is Chapter 2, The Night of the Murders. The last day in the lives of Maddie, Kaylee, Zaina, and Ethan is, in many ways, just like any other Saturday, until it isn't. With the help of surveillance cameras from public places, social media, and witnesses, we can almost exactly trace their final hours. It's November 12th, 2022, and Kaylee has recently moved out of the student house. She's set to graduate in a month and plans to vacation in Europe before moving to Texas, where she's accepted a job in marketing. She's been staying with her mother in Coeur d'Alene for the past few weeks, and a spontaneous whim leads her to spend the weekend at the student house at 1122 King Road. Kaylee has just bought her dream car, a Range Rover, and she's eager to show it off to her best friend Maddie. Plus, there's always a great vibe at their favorite bar in downtown Moscow, so why not take the opportunity to go out?
Later that night, Kaylee and Maddie go out partying at the Corner Club bar in downtown Moscow. It's a small blue-collar bar, cinder block, metal, rough concrete, that kind of a place.
Corner Club Bar, or the Club as it's also called, is popular with sorority girls and fraternity guys. Tonight is no exception. With the much-needed break of Thanksgiving just a week away, many students are already in holiday mode. Kaylee and Maddie arrive at the club around 10 p.m., as shown by the club's surveillance camera.
And we know this because security camera footage from the corner club shows them socializing, drinking beer, and having a good time.
After a few hours at the bar around 1:30 a.m. on November 13th, they leave the place with a friend. A surveillance video shows the three walking down the street.
They're walking down the street, and they look slightly buzzed by their physical presentation.
Maddie is wearing a jacket that's far too big for her. The sleeves hang loosely.
She looks a little chilly. She wraps her arms around herself. She flaps the arms of the jacket.
The surveillance footage also captures Kaylee asking that Maddie told everything to Adam, a bartender at the club, and never a suspect, has nothing to do with the upcoming murder. But these surveillance videos will later become of great interest to so-called cyber sleuths, online detectives trying to figure out who committed the murders and why. But we're not there yet.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/podcast.
The girls' next stop is the Grub Truck, a large yellow-orange truck serving late-night food. The Grub Truck acts as a social hub for intoxicated college students waiting for their food. Everyone talks to everyone. Additionally, everything is caught on camera.
The Grub Truck has a live Twitch stream that plays all night while it serves food to drunken college students.
People can go online and see who's ordering food, who's out on the town.
Good night. Hello. Hi. Welcome back.
They are seen and heard to drunkenly order some food.
Okay.
They're a bit drunk and clumsy, just like most of the people here in front of the food truck. Maddie sees someone she knows and goes over to say hi, while Kaylee pays for the carbonara.
During their time at the Grub Truck, Maddie and Kaylee also call ahead for a car to take them home.
Just before they leave the frame, you see Kaylee laughing as she films Maddie, who's receiving the food.
The car arrives, and Maddie and Kaylee skate off to the car, get in it, and are taken home.
They drive off into the darkness. This is the last time we see a recording of Maddie and Kaylee alive.
At the same time that Maddie and Kaylee are going home, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle are settling in at the house as well. They've just been to a party at the Sigma Chi house, Ethan's fraternity house.
It's nearing 2 a.m. on Sunday morning when Maddie and Kaylee step out of the car and walk up the driveway to the student house. Ethan and Xana have just arrived home from their party as well. The two other roommates are also home. One of them is sleeping on the ground floor, the other on the second floor. The dog Murphy, a Labradoodle that Kaylee and her ex share custody of, is also home. A full house, in other words.
By 3 a.m., everybody residing in that house and Ethan Chapin are in that house on King Road.
Not far from the house, the police have just stopped some guys walking around with beer cans in their hands. The police body cam is recording.
Hey, is that beer? Is that beer in your hand?
Yeah, I'm 21.
You got the ID on you?
The body cam footage of the police officers questioning those drunken college students roughly around 3 a.m. gives us a time frame for other vehicles that pass in the distance. On this police body cam footage, in the distance, we can see what appears in retrospect to be a white Hyundai Elantra heading toward the neighborhood of the King Road residence.
During the following hour, a white mid-sized sedan, a Hyundai Elantra, circulates the area. A standard four-door car that doesn't draw much attention as it repeatedly drives down the same street and past the same house as if it's waiting for something or someone.
In and out of the neighborhood slowly, as if stalking prey or as if reconning for a mission.
Zaina has ordered Jack in the Box, fast food, for home delivery, and at 4 a.m., she goes downstairs to the front door to receive the food.
After that food delivery driver leaves, only a few minutes pass before the white Hyundai Elantra appears again. We know this from residential security camera footage of the area.
By now, the white car has driven past the house 3 times in the last half hour. At 4 minutes past 4, the car drives past the house on King Road a 4th time and then parks nearby. Shortly after that, someone opens the sliding glass door on the house's 2nd floor,
which was often left unlocked.
As we mentioned earlier, Moscow is a town where many feel safe leaving their doors unlocked.
And instead of traveling to the nearest room, which would have been where Xana and Ethan were, he travels up a small stairwell to the top floor, where Maddie and Kaylee are. Kaylee's dog, Murphy, begins to bark.
And now the roommate sleeping on the 2nd floor, beneath Kaylee and Maddie, wakes up. Both she and the roommate on the ground floor have chosen not to speak to the media about what happens next. Therefore, we keep them anonymous. In police interviews, the roommate on the 2nd floor says she hears Kaylee's dog Murphy barking.
She thinks she hears Kaylee playing with her dog upstairs.
The roommate hears footsteps and movement.
She yells up to her housemates, asking them to quiet down. She's trying to sleep. They don't answer.
In reality, Murphy is barking because of something entirely different.
And in very short order, after that, Kaylee and Maddie are stabbed to death.
What the roommate doesn't know is that the sounds are from Kaylee and Maddie losing their lives. She goes back to bed. It's now 4:12 a.m., and Xana is scrolling on her phone.
Xana Kernodle's TikTok account shows her to have been active.
But the roommate can't sleep now either because it's just not quiet. Now she hears a voice saying, "There's someone here." She thinks it might be Kaylee saying it, or is the voice coming from the same floor she's on?
But she can't be sure. She thinks maybe it's Xana saying it now, down the hall from her. She doesn't know what's going on.
She opens her bedroom door and looks toward the stairs leading up to the floor above, but she doesn't see anything.
She closes her door and she starts to go back to bed. And then she hears more. She can hear somebody in Xana's bedroom is crying.
Who is crying? She opens her door a 2nd time and hears a man's voice say,
"It's okay. I'm going to help you."
At 4:17 a.m., a surveillance camera from the neighboring house picks up sounds that the police believe are whimpering, followed by a loud thud.
What is believed to be the massive thud of a head hitting the ground.
The police think the sound is Xana's head hitting the floor.
When you picture a body falling, we picture it the way we picture it in movies. Somebody gets shot or stabbed, the body collapses onto itself. What we don't imagine is what real-life murder is like. That a head weighing what a bowling ball weighs drops onto a hard surface, and that makes a sound, a very particular sound, like nothing else. Just a solid, hard, reverberating thud. And that is the sound that the audio shows us.
The sound is from when Xana and Ethan are murdered in Xana's room. The surveillance camera also picks up the sound of a dog barking. Now the roommate opens her door again. This time, she sees a black-clad figure
with a black mask over his mouth and nose, and he's walking toward her bedroom.
The man is tall and appears to be athletic. Only his eyes are visible.
He has bushy eyebrows.
Who is this? Has he been out partying with her roommates?
She just stands there in a frozen sort of state, not sure what's happening, and the man passes.
The figure walks past her.
He doesn't look at her. He doesn't gesture to her. He doesn't speak to her.
And continues to the back of the house.
And he exits through the back slider door on the 2nd floor.
Just where he came in.
She closes her door.
And locks it.
and she goes back to bed.
Then it goes quiet. At 4:20 a.m., neighborhood cameras capture the white Elantra leaving the area at high speed. This means that the killer parks the car after 4:04 a.m., enters the house, goes upstairs to the room where Kaylee and Maddie are sleeping, murders them, goes downstairs to the room where Zaina and Ethan are sleeping, murders them, leaves the house, and drives off at 4:20 a.m. The murders, in other words, happen within 15 minutes.
And that is the exact time frame that the white Hyundai Elantra was seen re-entering and then exiting very quickly.
The two surviving roommates at 1122 King Road wake up to a quiet house.
The first call that's made is not to the police, but to peers.
Exactly what happens in the student house on the morning of November 13th, 2022 is unclear. We don't know if the two survivors are aware of everything that's happened during the night, but we know that the roommate on the second floor starts contacting her friends.
Several people arrive at the house from nearby residences.
And one of these friends eventually calls emergency services. It's then 11:58 a.m. Why there's such a significant gap between the murders and the emergency call is something that has puzzled many afterward. Shortly after the emergency call, the police arrive.
And eventually, Chief of Police James Fry arrives at the scene. What he will later say is one of the worst crime scenes he's ever seen.
The police chief enters the house to Zaina's room on the second floor.
And he sees near Ethan and Xana blood on the floor, blood on the walls. Ethan's enormous body cut down brutally and with apparent ease, huge gashes. And Xana's small body in her bedroom as well, cut down and lifeless.
Zaina's body also has defensive wounds, indicating she tried to protect herself or defend herself against the attack.
Blood is everywhere, and the scene is horrific. And this is the room where we hear the thud coming from. And this is the room where the blood was so flowing that it leaked through the floorboards and out to the concrete foundation where it drips toward the ground.
There is so much blood in Zaina's room that it seeps out and drips down the house's exterior. As Chief James Fry makes his way to the third floor, he passes by the messy kitchen filled with half-drunk beer mugs and other dishes.
There's residue from partying, some of the popular red plastic cups that college students use for mixed drinks are littering the kitchen. There's a Jack-in-the-Box bag on the kitchen counter, apparently the bag of food that Xana had ordered.
A brown takeaway bag is by the sink. Someone has written Zaina on it with a black marker. The police chief heads up to the third floor and Maddie's room. There, he sees Kaylee and Maddie's bodies side by side on the bed.
Blood everywhere. No apparent sign of sexual assault, but incredible brutality. One of the two showing signs of what is known as overkill.
One of the bodies has been subjected to excessive violence, multiple stab wounds beyond what would have been necessary to take her life. And perhaps it's in the midst of this frenzied act that the killer doesn't notice he's dropping something.
He had either dropped it or it had been ripped from his person in a scuffle, or it had torn accidentally.
Under Maddie Mogan's body, the police find a knife sheath that is believed to belong to a hunting knife, brand Kabar. And this knife sheath will soon play a crucial role in the police's hunt for the killer.
While the knife sheath is their only clue, it turns out to be quite substantive.
In the next chapter of the student murders in Idaho,
the home of the University of Idaho has been shaken up by the deaths of 4 students and people there still know very little about how or why the victims were killed.
The small town of Moscow is in shock after the murders on King Road. Meanwhile, fear spreads in the community as a killer is on the loose.
We cannot say that there's no threat to the community. Please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times.
But then, a breakthrough in the investigation occurs.
Identifies a white Hyundai Elantra. That vehicle turns out to be registered to a Brian Koberger.
This was the second chapter of the student murders in Idaho. This documentary is produced by Gabriella Lahti. Sound design and final mix by Tomas, Rajnai, and Jens Nielsen. Executive producer is Tove Leffler. My name is Jonathan Rollins, and if you like this series, don't forget to follow Crime by PodLit so you can find our other podcasts and also get notified when a new episode of this series is released. The clips you've heard in this episode are from the YouTube channels Law and Crime Network, Fox 13 Seattle, New York Post, University of Idaho, and CBS News.